What's up, guys? This is TheKephas. Today I'm going to show you some macros that I've created with GNOME Sequencer Enhanced, an extremely powerful add-on that allows you to create robust macros that can perform most, if not all, of your rotation with a single button. This can be extremely useful if you have a disability like myself, or if you just want to be lazy. Bear in mind that these macros can be extremely helpful, but they also have their limits, so they're made primarily for those who are playing the game at a more casual level. But feel free to use them as you see fit. If you'd like to learn more about GNOME Sequencer and how to use it, I recommend that you head over to Wow Lazy Macros. You can find links to all of that and to import strings for these macros in the description. Today we're going to talk about the macro that I've created for survival hunters. Now, the last few macros I've made have been a lot more challenging, and to be honest, the survival hunter was very refreshing because it is really easy, and from my experience, the macro works pretty well. So much so that I kind of want to re-level a new hunter and level up as survival just to see how it goes, because I actually had a lot of fun with this one. So we're going to go ahead and open up the talent tree here, and we'll take a look at what I've done, and then we'll look at the macro. Now, when it comes to, I say this all the time with these macros and these guides, when it comes to building out a talent tree for, this type of thing, we focus more on simplicity and for what works best in the macro, and not so much on min-maxing and optimization, because the goal here is to make the game easier. The goal is to make the macro functional and make the class as functional as possible with a macro. So with all that being said, tether your expectations a little bit, because I have had to make a number of compromises to make this work based on just what I see a lot of people running with and what I have decided to run with. So I don't know how high up this is going to get you to the maximum or optimization hierarchy or whatever. But what this will do is this will function really well, and it'll be really easy to play. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at what we've done, okay? So on the left side, obviously, kill shot, we've gone with that one, and a lot of it's really utility. I mean, really, you can go through this whole thing, and it just kind of boils down to, standard utility stuff. A little bit more on survivability, just try to, we're in melee range, and staying alive is very helpful, especially if you do a lot of outdoor content like I do. It's very helpful to have a little bit of survivability there. And then when we get down here to the bottom, there we go. This is where things get a little bit different compared to what a lot of other people do. So Serpent Sting is very popular for survival hunters. It used to be a part of the rotation when survival hunters switched to melee. I refuse to take Serpent Sting. I hate Serpent Sting. I've hated Serpent Sting since Vanilla WoW. I don't want to do a dot, okay? There are enough classes to have dots. I don't want one. I'm not using it. And even if I did use it, it would be a very difficult ability to macro. So with Serpent Sting, it would be like, I would have to do either, you'd have to manage it separately, there'd have to be a modifier or something like that. So even if you did take Serpent Sting, it would still be a challenge to even try to macro this. So that's the first thing. And then the next thing is, because of that, really don't want to do Steel Trap because it's a target location ability. We could make it work, but if I don't have to go with it, I'm not going to. So what I've gone with is the kill command path, just buffing up the pet a little bit, just to give that a little bit more of an oomph, even though it's maybe not the focus. With that, in terms of survival hunter, it's not like Beast Mastery, where it's all about the pet, but hey, it's something, right? And then I've also, I have taken Death Chakram. That's an awesome ability, very powerful. How do you not go with that one? And then I've gone ahead and gone down this path here, and I've taken Explosive Shot because I love Explosive Shot. I've loved Explosive Shot way back in the day when there was the lock and load procs, and it was just really fun. So this works with survival, and Barrage doesn't. So Explosive Shot was the obvious choice there anyways. So I've gone for Explosive Shot and Kill Command over some of the other options. And that's just kind of the way I've gone with it. So that's kind of the big thing on that side of the tree. Now on this side of the tree, I had a few things to think about, and just trying to go with what worked best for the macro. And one of the biggest challenges was with Mongoose Bite. I honestly thought a little bit about not taking Mongoose Bite because I feel like Raptor Strike is just functionally, like, it's an easier, mechanically, it's an easier ability to go with. But Mongoose Bite works with the macro, and you're going to be generating a ton of focus anyways, so you should get a lot of the perks of Mongoose Bite, even if you don't maximize it, okay? That's kind of my thought processes, because, like, really, you want to use Mongoose Bite a little bit more strategically in some ways. I mean, you are just kind of using it, and even, like, most of the easy guides out there just say, you know, just use it to spend your focus, right? So you're going to be, I mean, there's tons of abilities in this tree where you're generating a lot of focus. You're going to be generating tons of focus anyways. You're going to be using Mongoose Bite plenty. So I've gone ahead and taken it because it really doesn't change up the function of the macro anyways. And so besides that, there are just a number of other abilities in here, like flanking strikes that we've gone with. And we've done a lot of like resetting cooldowns, adding extra charges to abilities, stuff like that. And the one thing I didn't do is I didn't take either Carve or Butchery. This is kind of more of a single target focus, but again, it just kind of simplifies things a bit. If you were to even take one of these abilities, either way, I mean, you're not going to be using it in single target. I wouldn't want to make an entirely separate macro just for one of these. I mean, I guess you could do a modifier. You can also just kind of put this on a separate button and use it accordingly. It has a relatively short cooldown, so yeah, it's pretty straightforward, really. And in my opinion, when it comes to the bottom part of the survival hunter tree, I was pretty underwhelmed. I do think the bottom part of this tree needs a little bit of work. I don't like these long cooldown abilities. They seem kind of boring anyways. We did take shrapnel bomb, just because, you know, it's cool, and so that's going to work. Now these will work with the macro. It does change the name of the ability, but that's fine. The macro will still use it, no problem. So you're good there. But yeah, I just didn't go deep into the tree because I feel like you can get plenty without going down here, and I kind of found this stuff all boring, to be honest. Just being completely honest here. But with all that being said, that's pretty much the talent tree. Let's go ahead and open up Gnome Sequencer Enhanced by typing /GSE, and our macro is called TheKephas Survival. This is an all-in-one macro for survival hunters. If you would like to use my talent tree build, you can copy and paste this link here, paste it into your talent tree, and you'll be good to go. With that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the macro itself. Alright, so this is a straightforward sequential macro. We have a number of abilities here, and we do not want to bog it down by trying to do a priority macro like I've done in the past. But this is very straightforward. It's pretty fun how happily straightforward this was. So we start off with Mongoose Bite, trying to use a little bit of focus before we start generating it again. And, you know, I'll just start with this here. There's always going to be a chance that you will generate focus before you spend it, and overcap, that is always a possibility, but fortunately this is just a series of short cooldown abilities anyways, so you should be fine. But it's just kind of like, no matter how easy and how good and how well the macro, you know, mechanically performs, it's never going to be perfect because of the nature of, you know, classes are designed to be requiring a bit of your brain, so that's always going to be, you know, something that you have to take away from this kind of stuff is, you know, tether your expectations and understand that there are going to be imperfections no matter what I do. But either way, we start with Mongoose Bite, moving on to Death Chakram, followed by Flanking Strike, and then we get into Shrapnel Bomb, or Wildfire Bomb, as it is. And then we have our Mongoose Bite again, right? So the idea here is to try to increase the chances of us spending our focus on Mongoose Bite as much as possible without putting it in here too much and just really bogging down the macro. We want to try to make sure that we are spending our focus because we have a lot of abilities that will be regenerating it. And it's regenerating so much anyway. So putting it in here twice seems to be well enough. You maybe could put it in a third time, and that's up to you. If you want to sort of mess around with that, you totally can. But I put it in here twice, and it seems to be doing okay. So next up, we have Kill Command. We have Kill Shot next, and then lastly, we have Explosive Shot. Now, the way this is basically going to work is the macro is going to be cycling down through these abilities, getting a couple chances for Mongoose Bite, and then just keeping everything else on cooldown. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Now we get down to the bottom here, And much like if you've seen my Beast Mastery Hunter, this is kind of the same thing here. Under key press, we have our targeting stuff. And I just realized I need to put, this is a melee class. We are melee. We want to make sure that we are always attacking. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in the start attack line there as well. So a little live editing there. And then now down here, depending on what pet you have and what it's using, it's going to use claw, bite, or smack. So this is just making sure that those are being used through the macro as much as possible. So it's pretty straightforward. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to explain with this one. It's very easy. Like I said, you're going to be going through all of your abilities. It's going to be trying its best to use up your focus without overcapping as much as possible. It will occasionally overcap, though. You can experiment adding an extra mongoose bites in there one way or another if you want. I'm pretty happy with 2. It seems to serve me well enough. And yeah, for the most part, it's a very straightforward macro. It's going to keep everything else on cooldown as abilities reset. It's not a big deal. It's going to use them. It's going to use any version of your wildfire bomb. No problem. It's going to use it when it resets, when it, using all of its charges, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, pretty straightforward. The one ability that I didn't include in the macro was Harpoon. And I thought about this because we have taken the Harpoon talent. The reason why I didn't put it in is because, well, it's kind of 2 reasons, really. One, because it's a little bit of a utility ability, like getting you into combat. And also, I didn't want to risk, you accidentally using your macro and pulling yourself somewhere that you don't want to go. It's weird for me using any kind of movement abilities in the macro. I don't like doing that. So with the way our talent build is, it is something that you could use during your rotation. But that's the other thing too, is I don't know if it's worth it to use up the global cooldowns all the time. There would certainly be times where maybe it would be best not to use it. So it's kind of one of those in-between abilities, where, yeah, you can throw it in there some, but you maybe don't want to throw it in there all the time. So either way, with all that being said, I just decided to leave it out and just kind of use it occasionally separately, and certainly to engage combat separately. So that's kind of why I didn't put Harpoon in there. And obviously, if you use an AoE ability like Carve or Butchery, then you would have to use those on separate buttons, or you could add a modifier into the macro if you want to. But either way, it's an optional ability anyhow. But that's pretty much it. I mean, straightforward macro, pretty happy compared to a lot of my other macros, how decently well it performs. And, just running out in the world, messing around with it. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun class to just, harpoon around and kill things really fast. And just, you have your straightforward 1-button macro. This one was very refreshing. It was very easy. And I'm very happy with it. But I would love to know what you think about it. If you use it, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And with all that being said, I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button. And feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. And if you'd like to see more videos, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook, and if you'd like, you can support my work on Patreon. Links to all that stuff can be found in the description below. This is TheKephas. Until next time.